Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably noticed from the thumbnail to this video that this is my response to my larger video of the week. Yeah, I do 2 videos a week. One is a large spread, and if you know this channel and you've followed along, you know that I'm in the middle of my deep dive year into the Lenormand system. Yeah, and so the larger spread of this week is a Lenormand Spread. And then I do a second video, which helps me to pull out a more concise, perhaps a more refined central message for the larger spread. And sometimes I do a second video based on Tarot de Marseille adjacent or antique Italian decks. But these days I'm also including Smith-Waite based decks, Harris Crowley Thoth based decks, or the Continental Tarot. So I've got something all planned out for us for this week. It's not TDM, it is a Smith-Waite based deck. And it's a deck that I've already shown on this channel, but it's a deck that I love. But before we do that, let me remind you that because this is a response spread, this is a response to the larger spread of the week, I highly recommend that you go and watch that Lenormand reading first and then come back and watch this. So I will put a card up here for you to be able to click on and head on over to watch that video first and then come back and watch this, right? Because you'll understand why I'm reading these cards and the way I'm reading them more clearly after you've watched that video. Because I might be reaching for a very unusual reading of some of these cards because of that, because I'm bouncing off of that spread. Now, just in case you have watched that video and you didn't watch it in one whole sitting, you watched it in pieces, that's perfectly acceptable. Or it's been a few weeks, or it's been a few days, and you just want a refresher about what that video was about, what that spread was about. It was about growth. It was about growth and success at work. Our daily jobs, that whatever it is that we do to get the money to put food on the table, to pay our rent, or to keep the house clean, now you may not have a job, like in the traditional sense of a job where you go to a place to work. Maybe you work at home. Maybe you are a homemaker. Maybe your job is to take care of the home and somebody else brings the money. Whatever it is that you do for stability, success there, growth there, light and happiness there, increased reputation and perhaps responsibility there. And the need to be clear about information that's coming in. Yeah, we want to be open, loving, and pay clear attention to messages, contracts, written documents, any information that's coming in now. We want to be clear that it's all copacetic, it's all kosher, it's all good, that there are no problems there. And I don't mean to be suggesting that we want to be defensive or critical, but rather we want to be open, clear, and attentive to detail in the most open and happy sense that we possibly can. Not anticipating problems, but noticing when problems arise. Does that make sense? So that's what that spread seemed to be about. And in addition to many other things. So, we're going to do a spread we're going to look at the spread that I already have prepared that is in response to that, and see if we get a more concise message or if we get another layer of information. Are you all ready for that, friends? So what am I going to do? I am going to show you the spread, and we will briefly talk about the cards that I'm using, which decks I used for this spread, and then I will talk to you about what the spread is, and then we'll break the spread into its two major component parts and read those parts together. Are you all ready? Friends, here is this week's response spread right now. Friends, do you recognize the tarot deck that you saw above? I have recently started a new series on this channel. I call it my deck dive. What does that mean? It's a series in which I will take a deck and work with it off screen for about a month, and then I'll come back on and do an in-depth review of that deck. And so the first deck that I did that deck dive video for was the tarot deck you just saw. It is the Good Fortune Tarot by Barbara Moore and Jessica Rue. Barbara Moore is the author, Jessica Rue is the artist, the illustrator. Wonderful deck. And in case you want to see the deck dive video for that tarot deck, I'll put a card up here for you to hop on over and take a look at it. I really love the deck. That's why I wanted to bring it back. Also, you saw 3 cards below. They are from an oracle deck, also by Jessica Rue. And I had really wanted to use these 2 decks together for the deck dive series because it's the same illustrator. However, I did not get the oracle deck into my possession until after I had to publish that deck dive for the Good Fortune Tarot. So I decided to pull both of these out for this response video to this week's Lenormand Spread. So the 3 cards you saw below, they are from the oracle deck, The Woodland Wardens by Jessica Rue. And I really like this deck. And I will enjoy using this deck with the Good Fortune Tarot and also independently. I can see that in the future. One thing that I also see in the future is I'm going to trim the borders on the Woodland Wardens Oracle deck because I think they are excessively large and unnecessary, and they will trim down pretty well if I'm careful. And they will be about the same size or maybe just a hair smaller than the tarot deck when I do trim it down. So I'm going to do that in the future. The next time you see the Woodland Wardens Oracle on this channel, it will have been trimmed. I guarantee. So friends, what is this spread? It's a 3-card traditional spread. The 3 tarot cards you saw above are in the positions of the first card, significance, the significant answer to the question, what is the central message of this week's Lenormand Spread? The next card is challenge, positive or negative. Positive being something we want to strive for, something we want to reach for. Or negative, something that's an obstacle, something that'll stand in our way. And then the third card is advice. Yeah? Significance, obstacle, advice. Significance, challenge, advice. This has been quite a day. I'm sorry. So that's how we're going to read those 3 cards. Now the 3 oracle cards beneath, I've decided are to be used as modifiers for the tarot card above. So what we'll do is we'll read the 3 tarot cards together. I'll show you the cards once more. And then I will show you the oracle cards, and we'll see how each one of those cards modifies or changes or it intensifies the meaning or message that we get from the tarot card above. Does that make sense? Okay, friends, so here we go. Let me show you the 3 tarot cards once more, and let's read them together. Here they are. Friends, you just saw from left to right we had justice reversed, then we had the Seven of Pentacles and the Eight of Wands. And that's the direction I'm going to be reading them, because this is a positional spread. That was the intention I had when I laid the cards. This is going to be an intentional, my intention was that this is going to be a positional spread, significance, challenge, advice. So the first card, reversed, was Justice. And I shuffled in reversals for both the Tarot deck and the Oracle deck. Now, for the Tarot, this was the only card that came up reverse. For the Oracle, even though I shuffled in reversals, all three cards are upright. So, that's significant, I think. Here we have Justice reversed. Beautiful card, but let me show it to you upright so you can see it better. Yeah, this Justice card is based a little bit more on the Tarot de Marseille version than on the Rider-Waite-Smith version, just a little bit. Why do I say that? Well, for one thing, the figure seated in the chair, the throne of justice, her knee is influencing the balance of the scales, right? She is tipping the scales of justice deliberately, which is something for us to remember, that justice does not necessarily have to be cold, uncompassionate. Yeah, there are times when the scales of justice should be tipped in favor of the unfortunate. For example, we also see that there's a little mouse there in one of the scales, right? Do you see that? The cutest little, this deck has so many cute things. The mouse, courage, right? And the mouse is being uplifted by the figure of justice. You see the flowers down there. You see how her hair is a little bit, it's relaxed, right? This isn't the tight bound justice that we see in some other decks. Her hair is loose, right? She's got a crown on her head with both the sun and the moon on it, giving us that alchemy of the merging of the active and the receptive. Lovely card. In reverse, what is it telling us? It's telling us that things right now might be out of balance, right? Maybe we're not meeting our ideals. Maybe there are errors or imbalances in our lives. We might be disappointed in justice that is being served either to us or to others. And there's a lot of that going on in the world right now, right? And so we're called to have a good, strong commitment to justice. It's important to hold ourselves to our personal ideals and rules of behavior. We want to act justly. We want to have as much balance in our lives as we can. But things might be out of balance. And when we look at the Lenormand Spread, we do see that things are moving into a rebalance, into a different balance. The Lenormand Spread seemed to be pointing to a growth in our work activities. And maybe that will bring our lives out of balance in the near future, but to positive effect. Yeah, our growth, our success at work, our responsibilities may grow, but also our reputation may improve, may increase. And that may be bringing some lack of us, may be moving things out of balance in our lives, temporarily. But with that movement out of balance, we want to be careful that we are still meeting our ideals. We want to be our best selves. Right? We want to be open and live our lives as intentionally as we possibly can. Which means being open, being receptive, being loving, being joyful in doing all of the things that we're going to be doing. Which may be tipped towards more work than towards home and play, depending on what your daily task is. Now, if your daily task is keeping a home, then things might be read a little bit differently. But if your daily task is going out and working outside of the home, then maybe home life is going to be placed in the back seat or on the back burner for a while. But still, we want to live up to we want to live up to our ideals. We want to hold ourselves to our own standards. Joyfully, lovingly, not stressing ourselves out, not freaking out about it, but joyfully, lovingly, hold ourselves up to our own standards. Be clear and precise and careful as much as we can, right? And so, what is the challenge? Lovely Seven of Pentacles card, right? We see the what do we see up in the sky? We see the 7 phases of the moon. We don't see the 8th phase of the new moon, but we get the growth into the full moon and then the waning of the moon after that. We see the 7 pentacles on the bush. Usually we see the human looking at the pentacles on the bush. This time we see the human looking up to the stars, right? And there's a ladder going up to the stars. So for Barbara Moore, the 7 of Pentacles is a natural pause as a gift and a test. It's a gift for us to give attention to what we're doing, but it's also a test of ourselves and a test of what we're doing, right? We want to assess the progress of what we're doing and adjust ourselves to make sure that we're moving in the direction that we want to go and to make sure that the work that we're doing is developing as we want it to develop. And the things that we are waiting for are important to us. The things that we're waiting to develop are important to us. So we want to recognize that. And we want to do everything properly at the right time. We don't want to rush. We don't want to procrastinate. We want to do the work as the work is ready to be done. And that will include some waiting, perhaps some rest, and some planning as how we're going to accomplish the work we want to do. That's the challenge, I think. To assess, to be sure we're doing the work when it's correct, and when it's the proper time, not trying to get things done before they're ready to be done, and not procrastinating. And how can the earthly work that we're doing reflect the heavenly work that is being done above? Yeah? And so maybe we want to look to the stars to help inform what we're doing in our day-to-day lives. Maybe we want to look to the celestial to inform what we're doing in our daily lives. And in the Lenormand Spread, you'll recall that we got a lot of celestial energy, right? We had the sun and the moon. And we recall the sun and the moon in this reverse justice card, right? Our success and our reputation and our growth. We want to give our attention to that. And we want to keep active, participatory awareness on the things that we're doing. Doing them at the right time, not rushing, not waiting too long. And being aware and attentive, which was indicated in the Lenormand Spread as well, right? Be clear, be open. But also, pay attention to the details. And then the third card we have, so what is the advice? The advice is that things could come to a speedy conclusion. Those things that we are assessing the progress of, the things that we might be taking a natural pause to see how they're going, to assess their progress, to allow ourselves to plan the next steps, they may be coming to a speedy conclusion. And we also might want to stand out of the way of things that are ready to come to a conclusion. We don't want to force them to the end. Step back, we step away and allow the conclusion to happen. Because interference will compromise what's already been set in motion, right? We also want to pay attention to messages. We want to be aware of text messages, particularly in these current times. Pay attention to those text messages, to the written words that we receive from other people. And stand out of the way of things that are coming to a conclusion. They're going to conclude as they should have concluded, right? And our tinkering with those things is going to probably screw them up. Yeah? So things that are ready to come to a conclusion, let them conclude. Yeah? So that is the advice. Step out of the way. And part of that stepping out of the way is that Seven of Pentacles, right? Of stepping back and assessing where things are going. And things that are about to conclude, let them finish. The other things that we're still working on, assess how we're going to do that work. And look above to see how the celestial world can inform our mundane world. Does that make sense? I think this is important for us to recognize, particularly as things might be out of balance now. And the balance might be skewed more towards our work and the things that we do to provide security and stability for ourselves. Yes? Okay, now we've got 3 oracle cards to look at to see how they modify and add information to the 3 tarot cards we just looked at. So here are those 3 oracle cards right now. The 3 oracle cards you just saw from left to right were the wolf and the rose hip, right? The bee and the pomegranate, and the trout and the lily of the valley. Yeah, so each one has an animal and a plant. Very interesting deck. And we start off with the wolf and the rose hip, which is subtitled Guardianship. And according to Jessica Rue, this is loyalty and commitment. And the love of the rose hip informs that loyalty and commitment. So it could be familial love and care. It could be our call to be a mentor. So who in our pack, remember, wolves travel in packs, right? They have a pack. So who in our pack would benefit from some counsel? Maybe we can provide that counsel. We could take on a leadership role in our community, and that is a good thing. We might ask ourselves how we can take leadership. And remember, that is informing the Justice card reversed. Let me do this so that you can see them together. There we go. Yeah, the Justice card reversed, remember, is about our commitment to justice, and it's important to hold ourselves to our personal ideals and the rules of behavior because we want to be mentors to others. We want to be loyal, lovingly loyal and committed to our pack, to those that we care about. We might want to counsel those around us so that we can promote justice in our environment. Even if we notice errors and imbalances and we are disappointed with the judgment instances that we notice in the world, we can be the leaders of movement towards increased judgment, increased justice. Justice not being punishment, but justice being fairness, equity, balance, right? How can we be leaders in that sense? How can we be the mentor? Who should we mentor to increase the justice of the world? To increase the balance, to increase our ability to meet the ideals of who we see ourselves as, who we want to be in the world. How can we be mentors to others as the ones who are increasing our ability to embody our ideals? And imagine how that can increase, like the Lenormand Spread for this week was telling us, our reputation at work, our responsibility in our work life, our success. It moves in the direction of justice and balance, informed by love. We got a little bit of that in the Lenormand Spread that we read this week as well. And our ability to be leaders. Now, the next card we have is the bee and the pomegranate, right? Subtitled Productivity. So, what is this card telling us? It's asking us to create with purpose. Our hard work and industriousness are going to pay off. Yeah? Also, fertility and abundance of the pomegranate is available to us. We can be fertile. We can be abundant as we work and are industrious, right? So when we are productive, we make sure our work is fulfilling to us particularly. Yeah? And if it's not, how can I change that? How can I change the work that how can I change my approach to the work that I'm doing so that it is fulfilling for me? Right? And that question informs the Seven of Pentacles above it, which was about waiting and planning and assessing the progress we're making. We do that as we do the daily work that we want to do, and we are doing as the bee, and that we are fertile and experience the abundance of the pomegranate, and that we are fulfilled in the work that we're doing as we are taking the time to pause and assess what's going on. What am I doing? How am I doing it? Is this fulfilling for me? Is this making me feel my abundance? And if not, how can I approach this work that I'm doing differently so I do feel those things? So I do feel fertile, so I do feel the abundance that is available to me, right? And then the next card is the trout and the lily of the valley, which is purification, according to Jessica Rue. So we have the idea of return and restoration here. Like the return of trout to the wildlife, to the water, what do we call it? It's not a water park, it's not the waterways, to the water ecosystems, yeah? When trout are present in the water environment, we know that the water environment is clear, clean, pure, healthy. So that's why the trout is a sign of return and restoration. Also balanced and healthy environments. Difficulties subside and we have a return to happiness. This card can indicate the benefits of meditation and introspection. And it asks us to ask ourselves, how do I discern between the toxic and that which brings balance? Balance, right? How do I discern between that which is toxic and that which brings balance? And that echoes the snake card from the Lenormand Spread of this week, right? How do I discern between the toxic side of the snake card and the balanced side of the snake card? And this card is modifying the Eight of Wands, right? So as we pay attention to messages, as we stay out of the way of things that are coming to a conclusion, and we notice the speedy conclusion of some of the things, we return and restore the purity of our environments, right? We return to our balanced and healthy selves. We allow time for meditation and introspection and discernment between the toxic and the beneficial, the toxic and the balanced. And we allow the toxic to flow away, and we enhance the balance of our lives as much as we can, recognizing that our attention is going to be drawn and moved towards our work lives in the coming future. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense as a full reading, because I think these oracle cards that we just saw, I think these cards very, very nicely added information to the tarot cards above, right? We take our role as leader. We work to maintain our productivity and our enjoyment of our productivity, and we discern between that which is toxic and that which is balanced. In our movement towards more balance and the restoration of purity in the environments that we inhabit, as we embody our inner leader and mentor and counselor. Yes? Does that make sense? If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. Let me see if I can help clarify what I'm trying to say, or let me know if you have another idea of how to read these cards. I'd love to hear from you. And friends, I'd also like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for doing all those things that you do. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. When you do that, YouTube shows these videos and shows our community to other people so that they have the opportunity to join us. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for commenting. Your commenting in the description box below engages with the community and also tells YouTube that people are interested. Thank you for doing that as well. And in just a moment, if you want a private reading from me, my QR code and website address for my online tarot shop will appear before your very eyes, and you can scan the QR code or just type in the address, derekjohnthomas.com, and you can hop on over, take a look at the tarot readings that are available, order one for yourself or for a friend or a loved one or a colleague as a gift. Yeah? So all of those things are possible. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.